Alan Crone, and I'm a recovering politician. I'm a fifth generation Memphian, so I'm a little different than my two predecessors. I've been here a long time. My family's been here a long time. And I've always enjoyed sports. My dad, Jim Crone, is a great sports fan, and my kids all played sports growing up, and there's just nothing better for me than going to a gym or a ballpark or a football field and watching my kids play sports. And there's something about sports, isn't there, that really unites us. There's a book about your alma mater called Yammer Jammer Yellowhammer. It's the name of the book. And it's about a reporter who spent a season in the University of Alabama Recreational Vehicle Association. He went to every game in an RV. And in the foreword of that book, he talks about how sports, particularly college sports, can elicit such emotion that grown men will jump up and down, will high-five each other, will weep in the stands. And I don't know about you, I didn't have that kind of reaction at my own wedding. But you take me to a Tiger game or a University of Arkansas game, and I'll do that. And that's why there's so much money in sports. It's because it matters so much to all of us. And so one of the things that I did, I'm an attorney here in town. As I said, I'm a recovering politician. From 2016 to 2020, I was a member of the Strickland administration down at City Hall. I was his senior policy advisor, and I got a great ringside seat at just a lot of things. But two in particular I want to talk about that are sports related. The first is the new tennis center at Audubon Park. If you have a chance to go by there, go by there. It's going to open soon. It is a game changer. I hate that phrase, but it's a game changer for the University of Memphis because it's now going to be their tennis center. When I was at the University of Memphis, Memphis State, back in the 80s, we didn't have a tennis center. We had a few hard courts out by what's now the Larry Finch Center, and didn't have as much of a tennis program as we have now. That facility is going to be beautiful, and it's going to be wonderful, and what's going to be great for Memphis is it's going to bring people to Memphis. There are going to be youth tournaments there, adult tournaments, college tournaments, hopefully college regional tournaments. That's important because it brings new money into the city, and it's going to bring jobs into the city, and it's going to give a place for anyone who wants to play tennis. And hopefully there'll be a resurgence in tennis playing in Memphis because we've got such a great facility. And that was a partnership between the University of Memphis and the city of Memphis. And a lot of the money was privately raised, and a lot of it came from the city. But I'm convinced the city will get its money back and make money on that deal. The other project that I was involved in, and all these projects that I talk about and I say I was involved in them, I had very little to do with anything. I can't claim credit for anything, but I was just so honored and privileged to be around and help what I could. But the youth sports center at what is now Liberty Park is, my son James can tell you, he plays out there once a week in a basketball league. And when he and his brother were playing AAU basketball in and around Memphis, you couldn't have a tournament that was centrally located because there just weren't enough gyms in one place. And so, now, I hate that we're going to lose this because my kids played at Lemoyne-Owen, and they played at World Overcomers, they played at Mississippi Boulevard Church, and they played out in East Memphis. They played all over the city. And we went into neighborhoods and gyms that we probably wouldn't have been able to do or had a reason to go except for sports, for basketball. But conversely, you couldn't have a decent-sized tournament here because of that. So people tried, but again, you'd have to go all over the place. Now, they got 16 courts, beautiful courts in one place. They have volleyball tournaments, cheering tournaments, basketball tournaments, and this is a typically Jim Strickland project because I think it's well thought out and it all integrates together. Liberty Park now, you've got the youth sports complex, you've got Liberty Stadium, which we'll come back to in a second, and a development which is on Central, just on the south, on the north side of that property, on the south side of Central, where next to the Children's Museum, there used to be a football stadium there, for a high school stadium. That's going to be a mixed-use development with hotels, restaurants, bars, retail, I think some apartments. And it's in the tourist development zone, the TDZ, which you may have heard about. It was the last TDZ that's probably, if the state treasurer has anything to do with it, it's the last TDZ in the state of Tennessee. But what it allows is all of the sales tax that's generated in that area goes to pay for the youth sports complex, but also goes for improvements within the TDZ. And so it's going to be a great generator for that and a great holistic connected use of that space rather than having a bunch of non-related things there, which were some of the proposals before. And so if the soccer stadium is built there, then that will further increase the TDZ. And I don't know what their schedule is, but it's probably about 30 home games a year. Does that sound like too many?
16, 17, about 34 overall.
Overall, okay, so 16, 17 games in that area a year, and you add to that the games at the Liberty Stadium, and you add to that the activity at the youth sports complex. It's going to be great economically for Memphis, and it's going to be a great thing for the community because it's another place for folks of all economic groups, all ages, all races, all parts of town to gather in one place and have a good time. So, we're in the process of making about $1 billion of investment in sports facilities in Memphis. And the Sports Authority, the Memphis Shelby County Sports Authority, is charged particularly with raising bonds for any improvements to FedEx Forum. Originally, it was formed to issue the bonds and pay the bonds when the city and the county built FedEx Forum. So you can imagine our meetings are just, they are just so boring. We're talking about bonds and financing and all that sort of thing. A lot of people are, oh, you must run the sports in Memphis. No, we talk about bonds. But if you think about the impact, both financially and culturally, that the Grizzlies have had here, then there's no bigger priority than keeping them here for another generation. Their lease runs out in 2029, and they want to do some improvements before then. And Jim Strickland and his administration was able to get some money from the state to help with that, and that's all in process. Some of that money is also going to go to renovations at the at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It's going to be a greatly improved facility, and we'll see what happens. Now, I will say, talking about money, and I may step a little bit out of my official. This is just Alan Crone talking. I'm not talking on behalf of anybody but me. If it made financial sense for the University of Memphis to be in a Power 5 conference, we'd be in one. It just don't make sense. I wish the message was different, but if you really think about it objectively, what do we really bring if your choices are bigger media markets and more national exposure? It is, I think it's an uphill climb. And I said before We joined the Big East. Remember that? We joined the Big East, and then the Big East went away. I always said, we'll join the Big East when the Big East ain't the Big East anymore. And that's exactly what happened. And I think on one level, we may need to rethink what our chase is, because I'm going to predict to you in 5 years, the Pac-10, if the Pac-10, the SEC, the ACC were drafting, if they said, okay, we're gonna dissolve everything and we're gonna come down to 5 power leagues, and they started drafting teams, you think Wake Forest would be in a Power 5? You think Vanderbilt would be in a Power 5? Louisville might not be in a Power 5. Arkansas. So where does Memphis fall on that list? So I don't think, they talk about the Big 12 and the ACC. I mean, I'm not sure all of those things 5 years from now are going to be what they were last year. And so I think we need to be thinking about, I always say there's the Ralph Cramden solution to problems, and there's a George Jetson solution to problems. And so often, we choose the Ralph Cramden solution because we know it and it's familiar. But what's the George Jetson solution for the University of Memphis, where they can position themselves to be in a leadership role and to be picked first, or to be picked high enough that we're in big-time football, big-time basketball? And you asked about money in basketball. Money matters in basketball, but the only money that matters is football money. That's the only money that matters. And so we got to figure that out. And people say, in fact, even some former presidents of the university have said to me, well, I'd rather us have a successful nursing program than a successful football team. And my response was, if you don't have a successful platinum athletic department, what makes the world think you can run the rest of your university any better? It is crazy to think that we're literally missing out of hundreds of millions of dollars because we're not in a power conference. University of Tennessee is going to spend about $200-300 million on Neyland Stadium for upgrades. They don't have to go to the state of Tennessee for that money. They've got billionaires and millionaires fighting over who can donate the most money to that project. And the University of Memphis has got to go begging to the state and the city, and that's just the reality of it. So if you get something in the mail from the University of Memphis asking for money, give them a little money. They need it. They really do. So I think that's my time. I really appreciated talking with you. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you all very much.